expecting on the golf course and in the driving range? Jonathan, since you have a latest tan on you, it looks like you've been on the golf course recently. Could you just share with us what are golfers expecting?
Yeah, well, okay. Well, golf is back and with quite a bang, I must say. I mean, golf courses are packed, especially the member clubs, even the walk-in courses, the public courses. People are just. It's been 7 weeks without golf, and for some golfers, that's 7 weeks wait. So it's good. It's good. It's been very good. There's been a bit of teething problems with obviously with social distancing being implemented on the golf course prior to teeing off, during the game, after the game. But I've spoken to a few club managers and things have pretty much worked out pretty well. So a few things that golfers should expect when they go out to play, if they haven't already done so, is one, you have to book your tee time beforehand. Show up at the golf club maybe 20 minutes before your tee time, not too early because you're not going to be able to hang out. There's markers for you to queue up when you go to pay for your registration, to pay for your game. There's only one person allowed to register for the group. Most of the clubs, in fact, all of the clubs have very good sanitization protocols for their buggies, for the common areas, everything's pretty good. You can wear a mask if you play. It's up to you. It's a bit difficult. You might suffocate. So on the golf course, a few key differences. One, obviously, social distancing. Two, it's now most courses, in fact, I think almost all right now, is one buggy per golfer if it's a buggy course. One buggy, if there's a caddy, one buggy per caddy, and so you pay for your single buggy, which is pretty good because then you keep away from others. On the golf course, there's no rakes on the course because those are public things which everybody touches. So you want to avoid touching things which are, common things that everybody touches. So there's no rakes. So you smooth out your bunker with your shoe or using your own club. At the pin flag, most clubs, what they've done is they've inserted what they call spacers. It could differ from club to club. It could be a sponge, it could be a plastic thing, so the ball doesn't drop in all the way. So when you take your ball out, you don't have to touch the pin,
So
But
don't touch
we
the
would
cup.
recommend that, correct, don't touch the pin, don't touch the cup. Just use your two fingers, pick it up. The ball will be just above the hole, so that's fine.
Okay. Okay.
One club, in fact, Subang Golf Clubs has a hands-free pin, where it's a little mechanism which you see on practice greens where you just push down the top. There's a little thing up there, a little lever up there. Just push that down with your putter and the ball pops up. So that's pretty good. I foresee that maybe at many other clubs implemented soon. What else? Most of the drink huts are closed. They're not serving drinks. So drink huts are usually at par 3. So usually there's a queue at a par 3. So they've spaced out chairs there. So you just sit down there and wait for the tee box to clear. So that's fine. Changing rooms are open, but again, social distancing. The bigger changing rooms, maybe 20 at a time. In the shower cubicles, 5 at a time. But from what we've seen so far, most golfers show up, play the game, get back to the clubhouse, go straight to the car, and go back home, which is good, because the biggest worry about golf coming back was what happens after the game, where people, usually golf's a social game, so you go to the clubhouse, you have food and chit chat, but that's not possible now, not right now. But golf is back and with a bang.
That is the main thing. That is the main information that we all want to know. Right, so golfers are allowed to go back onto the golf course. Driving range, John. Driving ranges are open.
Yeah, not all. There's one near my house which I think is opening in a few days. But like from what I've seen at Kota Permai, the ranges are packed. 2 meters social distancing. So they've spaced out the hitting base. Also, again, a lot of sanitation protocols, cleaning the balls because the balls are used by everybody. Most clubs have the dispensers, so you don't have to pick up the ball physically.
So everyone's balls are
and even if
going to be really clean now, right?
yeah, just keep your balls to yourself, kind of thing. So yeah, so it's pretty good. I mean, golf is a part of a bigger picture. So social distancing applies in every aspect of life now, every sport.
Yep.
Golf,
Yep.
thankfully, has social distancing built in. It's an individual game, 4 per group, now. So now it's just been enhanced, to make sure
Yes.
that we stay apart while enjoying our games.
Nice. Nice.
Well, you
Okay.
should keep your balls to yourself anyway at all times, whether you're playing golf or not. Anyway, carry on.
Shauno, give
Yes,
us some insights, Shauno. You're from the media background. You're the editor of from the Star, right? Give us what has this MCO? How has it affected the economy per se in terms of golf clubs and revenue streams and stuff like that?
Yeah, thanks, SB. Well, the overall view, if you want to look at it that way, has been that the clubs have welcomed the resumption of the game. But we all know that the clubs themselves took a big hit, including the retail sector of the golf industry over the past 6 weeks when there was the shutdown. But there's a lot of optimism, which is mixed with a bit of caution in the industry right now, so far as the recovery process, which begins now with the resumption of the game at the golf clubs. Yeah.
Have the golf clubs had to incur more costs in terms of procedure changes for them to open up for golf? Shauno?
I think the costing would have been affected because the procedures now are quite different. But I don't think they are dramatically different. If you want to talk about bringing in a sanitization program at the golf club, to start off with, it's a good thing. But I can't see it being dramatically expensive to institute something like that at the golf club. And I think beyond that, the clubs are more excited, if you want to use that word, about being able to open. I think we want to remember something else, that not all the golf clubs are open at this stage. There are some clubs, and I'm talking about across the nation here. There are a number of clubs which have not yet opened. And even that is twofold. Some of the clubs are actually on hold while they prepare to open, and some clubs have given no indication that they will open. I think this is in part due to the fact that I think some of the states have indicated that maybe they are not ready to get going at the moment. So I think there is that issue of, while there is optimism and people are excited to be going to play golf again, it's not like that for everybody at the moment. But we certainly hope that in due course that all of the clubs do open up again.
Yes, we definitely hope that happens soon. But I guess they all have to ensure that the procedures are in place.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you want to ensure everyone's safety,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the Malaysian Golf Association and the Managers Association followed that up as well recently with a set of guidelines which they issued to the golf clubs. And the guidelines, basically what they incorporate is a listing of what the club should do and what the club should not do. And I think if you look at it quite closely, it actually applies to our everyday life that we experience now in the COVID-19 era, if you want to call it that. So the guidelines are there for the clubs. I think it's imperative that the clubs adhere to what these guidelines are about, what they're trying to do. And the social distancing and the sanitization process is of utmost importance. This one, the clubs, if they do fail to institute those regimes, then actually they will be failing themselves, in my view.
Okay.
A quick question to either one of you, probably Jonathan first. I mean, on a micro scale, obviously we've got golfers coming back and they're paying their fees, and that's helping maintain the golf courses. But what about the peripherals? For example, the clubhouse, the actual restaurants and all that. They will suffer. Is that a large chunk of revenue for the actual golf courses and clubhouses?
Yeah, well, F&B is always been a part of golf. You play your game, you adjourn for lunch, dinner, with your buddies. So yeah, that's quite a big chunk of revenue, but most of the golf courses that have started operating again, takeaway is still available. So people will pack their drinks and so on. But yeah, it is a big loss of revenue. Supporting businesses like the pro shops have reopened as well. So from what I've seen, what I've heard from the retailers, business is actually quite brisk. I think golfers they're just like, oh God, I'm free, I can play golf again, so they're just doing everything that they could not do during the lockdown. So sale of soft goods is good at the pro shops. Obviously, golf balls, you need that new glove. But surprisingly, hard goods, it's selling as well. I've spoken to Transio, I've spoken to MST. People are buying golf sets, which is really odd, and it's year on year. Now is Ramadan, which is usually a slow period for golf. It's much better than last year. People are spending, but again, that could be due to the the euphoria of being back out there again, being able to do stuff that you couldn't do for so long. So whether that lasts, as they say, only time will tell. But hopefully it does. I mean, it's good for the industry. But certainly, it's been a good few days for the clubs that reopen in the states in which they were allowed to. Okay, wait a minute. Another thing that is a very big source of revenue for golf clubs is golf tournaments, and that is on hold for some time. Even after the MCO, public gatherings, large gatherings across any sphere, sports as well. So golf tournaments will be on the back burner for a long time, even after this. So that's a big source of revenue as well. So yeah, I would say that would be the biggest segment in which golf clubs will lose out: tournaments and events.
Yeah, I think just to echo Jonathan, that's quite right. But coming into the retail aspect of it, as Jonathan alluded to just now, there is some serious optimism being expressed by the leading retailers, that is the golf retailers, both here in Malaysia and in Singapore. And I think as long as there is this sort of confidence which is seeping through from almost all avenues associated with the game, i.e. The golf clubs and their suppliers and related resources and the retail sector, then I'm almost sure that the golfers themselves, that is the club golfers, the people who walk in, will get a sense that once this optimism reaches them, then they obviously will grow with it. So I think it will get better, but I also think that we should be extremely cautious in the way we look at it, because I don't think this is a short-term thing. Despite all the optimism which is being expressed, I think this is a long-term issue. It's going to take quite a while for the golf industry to really come right. And there's a number of reasons for this. And I think the most important thing is we really don't know when this pandemic is actually going to be put to bed completely. And I think that fundamentally is one of the things that worry almost everybody in the industry, so far as I know. I'm not sure if John will agree with me.
Yeah, agree totally. I mean, nobody really knows what lies ahead. I mean, not just for golf, but for the world in general. It's the new normal. So things like, okay, even though golf clubs are doing well, they're full. But one reason why they're full is that it's single buggy right now. So you've kind of halved your volume. So clubs, I think, can take probably a maximum of maybe 18, 19 flights per session because of the single buggy thing. So some cap it at 15. So that affects your revenue as well. And we're not sure if moving forward, even post COVID-19, whether the single buggy thing will be a part of the new normal for golf. I feel it will. It is in other parts of Southeast Asia, like in Thailand, Indonesia. Single buggy per golfer is the norm. So if that's going to be the case here, a lot of the golf clubs here don't have enough buggies to support a full day of traffic with single buggy usage. So they might have to look at increasing their buggy fleet. Again, nobody's quite certain how things will go out moving forward. So yeah, so that's something that
But
golf
you're
clubs will
talking
have to look
about
at.
increasing. You're talking about increasing buggies, but reducing potential income. Am I right?
Well, if you increase your buggies, then you can max out your number of flights, because right now the golf clubs are restricting the number of flights because they just don't have enough buggies for single usage. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Understand.
Yeah. So because they've never twin sharing has always been the norm in Malaysia. So they've always calculated their buggy fleets versus their traffic based on twin sharing. But right now, if the norm is going to be single usage, then they would have to look at that again.
Do you think motorbike buggies will come into play again? Would that be more efficient?
Oh, you mean those what do you call it? Scooter thingies?
They call turf mates actually.
The
turf mates,
sorry,
correct.
The turf mates, yeah.
Turf mates
think
are
that
actually not in
would be more-
production. Yeah. Well, sorry, Sean. They're not in production anymore. Actually, the Yamaha turf mates that you see out on the course are actually from, I think, like 15, 20 years ago. Some
Correct.
clubs are still maintaining, but there's new versions coming up, which you haven't seen, I haven't seen in Malaysia yet, but I've seen in Singapore. These ride-on things, which are really cool actually. So yeah, that could be something that's in the future for golf in Malaysia as well.
I'm sure it'll be cheaper, right? Cheaper to purchase. In terms of maintenance, also will be easier.
I think it's sorry, Sean. I think it's about the same. It's not. It's because these are all imported, and it's pricing wise might be roughly the same.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
Sorry, Shaun, you wanted to say something just now.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the traffic at the golf clubs. I think what has been omitted so far has actually been the players who pull a trolley. So that is walking the course.
Yeah.
And for the players who walk the course, there's no doubt, particularly those clubs who have memberships, they actually a lot of the members walk the course. They don't use a buggy or any other mechanical get around the course. So far as the walking is concerned, I think you got to remember that when you walk the course, it's actually slower. And the game of golf, as we know it globally, suffers. If there's one thing it suffers from, is it suffers from slow play. So the clubs, when they actually at this stage, it's still like everybody's like really excited to get going again because we haven't played golf for 6 or 7 weeks. But that will wear down, particularly with more clubs opening up. So, excuse me, after that's worn off and we kind of like stabilize things, then the walking issue will come into it. And then the clubs will actually have to look at ways of how to speed the game up, particularly for the players who are walking the course. I think that will be important. It's not important at the moment, but it will be important in the not too distant future.
Okay, that's a valid point there, Shaun. Thank you for that. Now, Jonathan, you're talking about minimal flights capacity at the current golf clubs that are open, right? So now, I think a lot of golfers are also going to be wanting to know how are they going to keep the handicaps up in terms of
keep the handicaps up.
Yeah, no, not too high. What I'm saying is they'll need to play a certain number of rounds per month, right, to get a regular handicap. How are we going to look at how will they work that around now that courses are limited? Not all courses are open now, right?
Yeah, but it's something that's
Do you
probably
think
out
it'll
of
be
their.
affected?
Well, I mean, if you can't get a tee time, then I guess you just have to keep trying. So yeah, that's going to be. It's tough to get a tee time. For sure right now. With the limited. With every course being full, some clubs are booked fully till next week. So yeah, I guess you just keep trying. Those who are members of clubs won't have an issue, but if you're playing in public courses, then yeah, just keep trying and try and get around in. Keep your. I mean, it's already been 7 weeks without playing, so what's another week or two, right?
True.
Yeah.
So you were on the golf course today, John? You
Yeah,
had
I was.
around?
I didn't play. I actually just popped by a course near my house, which is Sri Selangor, to just have a look at the protocols and the traffic. So, yeah, it was busy. But the good thing is, the golfers were very, very disciplined. You didn't see them hanging around. They register. They get out on the course. They keep the 2 meters apart. There's no high fives. No hugs or anything. Pretty much keeping close in terms of playing the game together, but physically still staying apart. So it was good to see. And Sri Selangor's changing room is open. They've just refurbished it, by the way. It looks amazing, but they are limiting it to 20 in at one time, 5 in the cubicles. But what I noticed was most golfers are just, they finish their round, return the buggy, get back to the car, and go home. So that's good.
In and out.
Correct. That didn't sound quite right. Yep. Yeah. That's
Shono,
that's Horizon Hills, I think. That's Horizon Hills, I think. Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything when you're saying in and out because I was thinking about golf and getting in the car and leaving
it's
the
all
car.
about golf, Rashid. It's all about golf. It's all about
No,
six balls and holes.
in your mind, it's always been the 19th hole. So in and out you've always been fast with in and out. So
that's why we're hosting the sweet spot, Rashid. That's why we're hosting the sweet spot.
Exactly. That's why I'm keeping quiet.
If I can just come in to add what John was talking about, I think there's a growing feeling within the industry also now that some of the procedures which have been and will be put in place to safeguard our health and the general state of the game. Once the COVID pandemic is done with and we're supposed to return to normal, it's quite likely that quite a few of the procedures, like I mentioned, will remain in place. And there is a feeling, and it's something which I certainly think should be looked into, and I think will stay. There's a feeling that some of these procedures actually will make the game much better. Now, we know that at the beginning of 2019, the RNA and the USGA, the two governing bodies of the game of golf, introduced a number of measures which they said were aimed at trying to make the game easier to play and to bring more players into the game. One of them was leaving the flag stick in. And today, with COVID, we have got a situation whereby now the golf ball doesn't even drop. Because obviously, we don't want to touch like the cup, as we call it. So I think these measures and a few other issues which have been put in place and will be put in place, I think they will definitely stay. And I think it will definitely be good for the game. It will make the game a little more faster or quicker to play. And while we are socializing at a distance at the moment, I think some of that, to some degree at least, will remain even after, and I think it will be excellent for the game. I think the game will benefit from it. I'm sure John agrees with me.
Yeah, I always agree with Shaun. Yeah, speaking about pace of play, I actually asked some of the club managers, because now with single buggy usage, you especially those courses where you can get onto the fairway with the buggy, pace of play is a bit faster with single buggy usage. Differing views from different clubs. Maybe some say it more or less the same, but like at Sri Selangor today, the club manager Hyrule said, yeah, it's definitely faster because a single buggy, you can go straight to your ball. You don't have to wait for the guy who's riding with you. So yeah, that could be something that would help speed up the game as well. As Shaun said, golf has suffered from being a game that's difficult to learn, takes too long to play. It's very intimidating, so now with COVID-19 accelerating all these changes that make the game simpler, this could actually work for the benefit of golf long term, in the sense that it makes it easier to play, faster to play, less intimidating, so that we can attract the younger people to start looking at golf. It's an aging game, golf, which is something that hopefully this will help change, or at least speed up the change.
I think also coming back to the golf clubs, if I can, quite a few of the clubs which I had spoken to were quite pleased with the weather that we've experienced, particularly here on the peninsula, with the weather that we've had, in that it's been raining, and because of the movement control order being put in place. Obviously, the maintenance teams were not out in full force as they would normally be. But because of the wet weather that we've experienced recently, it's kind of given most or all of the clubs a bit of a break in that the clubs have, the courses have got decent water. So I think in a way the clubs have been lucky in that respect. But I haven't been around too much, obviously, because we've just opened this week. But what I would be interested in is finding out the condition of some of the golf courses, because to be shut down for 7 weeks and minimal maintenance work taking place, I'm almost sure that some of the clubs would have been adversely affected. And it will be interesting to see how they recover from that. I know there's a club in Shah Alam, which is I saw on social media, which was said to be in a bad way because of the lack of maintenance during the period of the AMCO. So to see how they recover from this, or the length of period that they take to recover, I think that will be interesting. It will be interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think building on what Shaun said, I think the golf clubs have not opened those in Selangor, in Johor, in federal territories. You could operate from Monday if you were ready, but the clubs have chosen to open at various stages over the week. Some on Tuesday, most on Wednesday, some on Thursday. Some have even deferred opening until next week. So again, that comes back to what Shaun said: the level of preparedness of the golf course conditions, or the logistics that they might need to implement for the social distancing practices. So, but the main consideration would be how ready was the golf course to open. So that again falls back on how much maintenance they did during the lockdown, during the MCO, dependent again on economic factors. A lot of clubs were struggling financially with no revenue stream during the MCO, subscription fees only. No walk-in at all. So yeah, clubs, most of them have staged, kind of a plan for the opening day, depending on how ready the golf course was. So yeah, So it's interesting to see that some clubs actually have deferred opening, not even this week, even though it means they'll still not have any revenue, but they've deferred opening till next week.
So their main purpose of for that postponement would be the preparations that needs to go in, right?
Correct. But most have opened, but there are some that which actually deferred to next week.
Shono, you had something to say, Shono?
Yeah, thanks, SP. I was just going to say that, again, to echo what John had spoken of earlier on, the clubs will be badly hit by the lack of tournaments, because the tournaments and those events which are related to the tournaments are a seriously huge resource of revenue for the clubs. And there's no tournaments which have been scheduled, obviously, because of the situation that we are in now. So until such time as they can get the tournaments going, the clubs will continue to struggle. And while they struggle, we must always remember that it affects the maintenance. And the maintenance of a golf course is the most important entity of any golf club or country club. So while the tournaments are not there, I think the clubs are going to battle. Of course, some of the clubs are pretty well off, as we know. Some of them are owned by conglomerates, but those clubs which, like John said, it depend on walk-in, and those without any membership, those are the clubs I think which will feel it the most. Absolutely, I think so.
How does this affect the global tournaments, guys? Jonathan, any?
You mean you're talking about the professional tours?
Yes, the calendar, because they've not officially cancelled the second half yet. Am I right?
Well, the PGA Tours come up with a new wraparound kind of schedule, which some events which used to sit in this season have moved to next season because their
Correct.
season ends with the with the FedEx Cup. So like the Masters will now be part of the following season. So yeah, it's hard to tell because we don't really know what situation on the ground is in the US in terms of COVID-19. Everything is still provisional. I mean,
Okay.
they've released the schedule, but at the same time, they've also mentioned that it could change. Because
Subject to
if
change,
there's
right? Because nobody knows.
Correct. I mean, everybody's kind of targeted to resume, I think, in July right now, Sean, if I'm correct. Late June, early July, some
Yes,
even
early
later.
July.
So,
Early
but
July.
again, nobody knows what the future holds. So, fingers crossed. Yes, tour golf should resume within the next 2 months. There's a made-for-TV tailor-made event with Rory and Dustin, and which is later this month. But that's no spectators. It's made for TV. But as for the actual tours proper, they've all released their schedules, adjusted schedules moving forward. But again, it's so hard to tell whether even these will take place. But fingers crossed, we'll see professional golf come back very soon. We all need it.
I think.
Yeah.
I think what might be looked at is this. I think because they moved the Masters to later in the year, I think it's in November, and then the two other majors, the PGA Championship and the US Open, have also been either rescheduled or are there. The British Open is the only one which has been actually cancelled, and the next time it will be played in actually is the 2021 season. I think what's going to happen here, assuming that the PGA can host the Masters, or the Masters is hosted by Augusta National, and the PGA Championship and the US Open are played, I think they will be called, like in the case of the US Open, it will be determined as the 2020 US Open. And if the Masters, for some reason, is played in November and December, which what John is trying to say is would actually have been in next season's schedule, I think, and this is my thought on this, I think it will come under 2020 Masters. And I think if they can play the Masters next year and play it in April as they do, it will be played in next year and next season. So the point I make is this. If it's played in November or December this year for some reason, it will be played this season. Whereas under normal scheduling, the PGA Tour actually will start in October. So that's the way I see it. And I think it's the right way to go. I think that if the tournaments can be played, even if it means moving them back to November or December, and then cutting off on December the 31st. So all those tournaments which are played between now and 31st of December, they become the 2020 season. I think that's quite cool. There's nothing wrong with that. And then just starting from January 2021, and then you have your season from there. I think that's the way to go.
That's a good feedback, guys. We have a quick question from Mr. James Nichols. With the current situation of the COVID in Asia, how long do you think before the Asian tour will start? I think Jonathan has kind of responded to that with a PGA calendar, right? John,
No, but no,
any
I
feedback
think
on
James
this?
asking about it. James asking about the Asian Tour.
Yeah, so you
So
wanna
Asian Tours, So the Asian Tour, the last event that was on the Asian Tour was in fact our own national open, the Bandar Malaysia Open in early March. Yeah, and right after that, the events were cancelled piecemeal, the Indian Open, and so now they've decided the whole tour is on hold right now. There's no event scheduled until September in Korea, then Taiwan, and so right now it's nothing's going to take place in Asia right now as far as we know until September. But again, I know the tour's talking, the Asian tour people are talking to those the sponsors and the parties that are involved in the tournaments that were cancelled or postponed to see if they can come back in the second half of the year. There's not been an update yet, but I'm sure they are working very hard. So again, it's for Asia is a big place. There's so many different situations regarding the COVID pandemic in different countries. So it's hard to tell. Hopefully something happens soon and get adapted. But right now, looking at the Asian Tour schedule as it stands, nothing is confirmed until September. So I hope that answers your question, James.
okay? Hope James that your question has been answered. Now we have a second one. I think I'll channel this to Shono from Trifen. Most of our caddies depend on daily wages and they have been affected by the COVID situation. Is there a plan to assist them in the long term? Shono, any information that you may have?
Yeah, I think the plight of the caddies has been touched on during the lockdown.
Yeah.
Actually, the caddies, most of them, that is, have been adversely affected. I suppose you could say, like the rest of the world, actually. But there are some caddies and there are some clubs who have gone out of their way to try to make it a bit better for the caddies. I think what we want to do here is remind ourselves that so far as the caddies are concerned at the golf clubs, there are two sections, if you want to call them that. One is those caddies which are permanently employed, that is by the club, and then part-time caddies. So generally, how it works in this country is that those permanently employed caddies, they normally get taken care of so far as obviously the salary, and then by way of board and lodge, i.e. a place to stay and food, etc. When it comes to the part-time caddies, obviously they also got a structured wage bill, but they don't have the benefits of having like a hostel to stay at and that sort of thing. So what's happened mostly, and I say mostly because obviously the different clubs have got different programs and setups for the caddies. But what happens mostly is that the caddies who are employed permanently, those caddies are okay. What some clubs have done, and here I will take my hat off to those people who and the members in those clubs who have actually contributed. What some of them have done is they've set up within the club like a donation process whereby they collected funding to help the part-time caddies. And I know that just off the cuff, there is one particular club which raised amongst its members something like 200,000 ringgit just to help the caddies during this particularly difficult period. But so far as the caddies are concerned, SP, yes, that's really the situation in this country. What I could say, I've spoken to a couple of caddies myself, obviously, having known quite a few of them. And one of the lads who works in a local Kuala Lumpur club, but comes from East Malaysia, he too, like the rest of us, was saying to me this week that he's like really excited that he can get back to work. But we all know that all of us want to get back to work, and we're just looking forward to the day when it comes where we can put this pandemic behind us and kind of like just like like play golf, enjoy ourselves, go to work, and try and be ordinary again. Although, obviously, I think it will be quite difficult.
Yes, I don't think we will go back. There will have to be a new kind of ordinary for all of us.
Yep.
That we will all need to adapt to.
But I think if you say that, SP, I think what we should do, and John, we both mentioned the pace of play. I mean, it's some of the game has been affected because players are generally slower. I mean, if there's going to be a new order, I would like to encourage the players, and particularly the amateur players here at the golf clubs, to try to improve their skills, get better, and because if you're a better player, then you spend less time on the golf course because you play faster. I know that. I mean, if you hit the ball down the fairway 2 shots and then you're on, as opposed to, and I think John, you can bear me out here. If you hit the ball in the woods, in the jungle as we call it, then you got to try and get your ball back into play. It takes a longer time, so that generally makes the game slower. So I think the players must be encouraged, go to the driving range, improve your game, and actually the higher level you play golf, the more you enjoy it. And I speak from experience. I mean, it's really nice to play the game. I mean, you enjoy it when you're playing it nicely. Am I correct, John?
Yeah, I think it's all part of a bigger picture, So if like Shaun said, if you hit your tee shot straight down the fairway, take out your 5-iron, put it on, and two putt, that's much faster than if like me, you send it to the jungle, to the water, take a drop, tough the chip and 3 putt. But never mind, that's me. But yeah, I mean, perhaps that's good advice to everyone to try and improve their games. Maybe not just practice, but take a lesson or two. Yeah, which I should.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but I think pace of play is not just dependent on skill. It's also about attitude. We have to remember that we share the golf course with if it's there's 12 other flights out there, that's another 48 people out there. So it's not your playground. It's not like a tennis court. 4 of you playing, that's yours. That's it. You're sharing it with other people. So pace of play. Keep the pace according to what the club recommends. If you're faster, it's fine. Don't dilly-dally over putts. You're not playing for a green jacket. You're not Tiger Woods. So it's just bragging rights. So it's a game.
I think
enjoy it.
Yeah, John.
Correct.
I think John is absolutely right. But I think what the golfers also got to look forward to, SP and Rashid, at this time is there will be a lot of equipment, golf equipment and apparel, which will be on sale. And this has been mentioned by the leading golf retailers in the country. So while you've got this bonanza, if you want to call it, in the retail sector, there are some clubs which have offered or are offering, particularly now with the reopening of the golf clubs, they're offering special promotions, particularly also with Ramadan upon us now. So I think if the golfers really do want to enjoy or take advantage of this this boonish, you could also call it, I think this is the time. Definitely, it's a nice time. It's a nice time for golf, and I suppose like with things getting better, it's a nice time for all of us.
Yeah, I think James is another question about using the downtime to brush up on rules. If I could just take that, perhaps.
Yes, you can. You can, John.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's actually been a good time. I mean, I've actually there's a lot of online resources for the rules of golf right now on the RNA's website. You can go on. You can even take an exam. You can get level 1 certified on the RNA website. So I hope a lot of golfers have brushed up on the rules, because again, that's also something that could affect pace of play. Because if you're arguing about the rules, one guy thinks this, one guy thinks that. That affects pace of play. So if everybody knows the rules, there's no question. Just play. Drop the ball as per and get on with it. So yeah, that's a good point, and I hope that a lot of golfers did take that downtime to brush up on the rules, not just the skills, but knowledge of the game as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
No, you're saying, Shaun?
I think, yeah. I'll just to add on to what John was saying. I think the rules thing, with it being online, has been a good thing. But I think there've been a lot of golfers who have taken the time during the lockdown to actually get fit. A couple of my personal friends I know doing much more exercise during this period than I
Thank
know
you,
that they
Shaun.
would
Thank you
normally
for
do.
noticing. Thank you.
So it's. I mean, while the lockdown is not a good thing for us in that we closed in. Like I say, John was saying, we brush up on the players brushed up on the knowledge of the rules. It's some of us have gotten fitter. Some of us have changed our diets.
Some of us.
Some of us, yeah. Well, I think, most of our groups anyway, our golf groups, and I think in a way we haven't really lost sight of the game, and we haven't lost sight of the fact that we are golfers. I think that's the nice thing, and I think noticed also that there've been a few more WhatsApp group chats that have been formed by the golfers.
Correct.
And we have also become part of more of these video calls, because now I think WhatsApp has got the facility where you can have a group of like 8 people on one particular video call. So like now there's a few of the groups where you got like, especially in the evening, when a lot of the boys will be having a beer, then they got like 8 fellas or 8 golfers all having a toot at home, but being on the video call, talking about golf, obviously. So I think that's also something new which has come out of or for golf out of the COVID pandemic. Yeah.
Okay, we got another question coming in, and I think this is Jordan Tan from Singapore. And he's asking, do you guys think by any chance we will see more people actually picking up golf, since the other popular team sports like basketball and football may not be seen as safe as golf for now? Anybody?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. But again, golf has got a lot of barriers to taking it up because it's not easy to learn. It's time consuming. So that's something that we hope will happen, that in moving forward to the new normal, where team events, group events are not encouraged with social distancing to prevent the spread of COVID-19. So yeah, it's something I think we hope will happen, but whether it does happen is dependent on a lot of other factors. It's not something that's going to happen on its own. Golf needs to make it happen. We need to make it more embracing of everybody. We need to welcome newcomers to the game without this attitude that, hey, you're new, I'm a seasoned golfer, get out of my golf course, so don't. That needs to stop. We need to welcome new people. We need to make it a welcoming spot. We need to make it easy. We need to make it faster. There's so many things that need to be done before that can happen. But yeah, that's something that could happen. Whether it does, dependent a lot on how the industry moves forward.
Yeah, I think Jonathan is absolutely right there. I think also that the game itself should, and I know there are some associations who are looking at other ways to try and bring in new golfers, and I do believe that new golfers will enter the game. And I think in the post-pandemic era, we might see a spike in the number of new players coming to the game. And I say this because, as we all know, golf is a distancing or social distancing sport, if you want to call it that, in that it's you actually can be quite far away from your playing mate for a long time during the course of the game. But what I wanted to touch on was there's a particular golf course in this region. Actually, it's in Thailand. And the golf course has been designed in such a way, it's an 18-hole golf course, but they have segregated it into 2 sixes. So that golf club, and it's a lovely golf club, it's a pretty new golf club. If I'm not mistaken, it's not more than 2 years or so old. And we were actually there for the opening. So you can book to play 6 holes. and then you can go home after that. Or you can book to play 12 holes and you can go home after that, and or 18. Now, I know that most golf clubs, because the 18 holes, they split it into 9. So you can, like, for example, almost all the golf clubs here, the 18-hole golf clubs, you book for 9 holes and then you can finish, or you book for 18. But I see nothing wrong with introducing a situation whereby you can actually fragment it even further and use it by way of 6 holes, 6 holes, 6 holes. That's another way. Maybe somebody just doesn't feel, particularly those who are training, they just feel I don't want to be on the golf course for 9 holes, because you can 9 holes you can spend maybe 2.5 hours on the golf course. 6 holes maybe you'll spend an hour or something, and then you're gone after that. That's another thing that might be or should be looked at.
Yeah. Again, back to Jordan's question again. Whether new golfers come into the game with sports like basketball and football being frowned on, I think maybe that might not happen. But those who used to play golf and left golf to maybe go into futsal or basketball or all these rugby will come back to the game, because it is a game that's social distance. Naturally, it's allowed to be played again. So yeah, I think golf will benefit from people returning to the game in this period of social distancing.
Okay, we have a quick question, guys, from Luke. He's asking, changes is going to happen, but how will it affect the golf industry overall in Malaysia? Any growth you think will happen, or will it be the other way around? Shauno, maybe some feedback?
So you're talking about what effect the changes will have on the game locally?
I think he's talking more of an economical effect in terms of, will there be a growth in the industry, or will it be a recline?
I think because of the deprivation, players not being able to play, like I alluded to earlier on, you will have this like a seriously huge influx immediately after the opening. So yes, the golf courses will be fully booked, and partly like how John also had indicated, because now most of the clubs, you could say, will be at like a half volume, because you got one player per game, and then obviously the walk-in players are slower. So do we think after the whole show it will be better? I think that's what Luke is asking, and I certainly hope so. I think it will be. I think it will be. I think we will, after the spike, if you want to call it, and I know maybe spike is not a nice word to use at this time, but it will kind of level itself out, but I think it will be better. I certainly think it will be better, and I think it will be better, as I had indicated early on. I think if they leave some of the processes which have been implemented because of the pandemic, if they retain those after all is lost, after all is finished, then I think we will be in a much better situation than we are, or we were in.
Okay, that's very interesting, guys. A quick one. We need to cut back into our studio now. Okay.
Okay.
Can we cue in Farina and AP? And then we'll come back to another question from Dex Muhammad in terms of people will play golf 100% in matters of months. While we're waiting for the cut back to the studios, I think what Dex is saying is golfers should be returning back to the golf courses. Just give them time to get back to the new norm, in terms of the way people are going to run their golf games and all that. In terms of what they need to adapt to right now on the golf course. So this is our studio.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So, if you noticed this week, or last week rather, Puma Golf released a new collection called the Tie-Dye Collection. Now, this tie-dye collection is linked to the Hyde-Ashbury neighborhood in San Francisco. The whole area is a really nice, colorful area full of stuff and all that. So Puma Golf and Cobra Golf have taken the elements from that and put it into their new collection with Vessel Golf. So Vessel Golf and Puma Golf have created these bags, which look really cool. This is the start bag, Vessel Golf start bag, okay, which is a partnership with Cobra Golf. Very nice stuff back here. And of course, we have a nice stand bag. So these stand bags basically have a nice kickstand area to it, okay? And it's a very lightweight bag. So this collection actually comes in two colors. You can get the staff bag and the stand bag in this orange, okay? And you can get the staff bag and the stand bag in this blue. So tie-dye collection, you can get this stuff from our online Gila Golfers store. Remember, the designs are based on an iconic neighborhood in San Francisco called the Haight-Ashbury location, okay? So catch up with you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys.
Okay, so part of the competition is we're giving away 2 free caps for the first 2 answers. The first 2 participants who can answer these 2 questions. The first question is, where or which part of the country was the inspiration for the latest tie-dye collection from Cobra Puma taken from? Second is, what are the 2 names of the colors that the bags come in and are available? Give us the 2 names of the colors and where was the inspiration from. This is the caps that we're giving out for the first 2 answers. Okay? Now, coming back to our show, guys, gentlemen, we have 5 minutes to wrap up.
Sorry. Could you repeat the question again, please?
So the question is, give us the name of the state that the inspiration came from for the tie-dye collection, for the bags. The second question is, give us the 2 colors, the names. What are the names of the colors that the bags come in?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Now, you guys want to wrap up, John and Shaun? Just a quick 1 minute in terms of some pointers to the audience out there on the new norm of golf.
Yeah, if I could start, I think it's a great start for golf after a long absence of the game for everyone. So everyone's really excited. Golf courses, you can see in the golf courses, you can feel the electricity in the air. You know, the joy of golfers just being able to be out there to play the game they love. You know, golf is more than a sport. It's a part of it. It becomes part of your life. You know, it's something that you do not just to exercise. It's something you do to vent your frustrations. You know, so taking that away from golfers for 7 weeks was something that, you know, really affected them. So it's good to see golf back. Moving forward, once the euphoria dies down with the new normals for golf, the new SOPs, we don't know exactly how it's going to be, but a lot of the changes which have been fast-tracked will be good for the game overall. You know, it's going to make the game easier to play, faster to play, more accessible. So golf needs to change. What's happened right now, COVID-19, it's accelerated the change to a certain extent. So we need to see these things stay in the game. Again, golf is more than a game. It's a business as well. There's questions of supply and demand. So I foresee there may be some corrections in the supply and demand equation. So it could be something that's good overall, because, you know, it's never really good when supply is too much for demand, because it affects pricing and everything. So it may sound a bit cruel, but there may be a correction there as well. But not to end this on a negative note. Again, it's great that golf is back. It's great that golfers are back on the golf course. The golf shops are open. Driving ranges are open. So yeah, golf boleh.
Yeah, I think I think it's good. Like John is saying, it's good that golf is back. Obviously, we all look forward to its return, and including those clubs which are still not yet open. But I think as we move forward, I think the most important thing is for us to retain a semblance of caution. I think we must be moving forward, obviously, but moving forward, knowing that we must keep in place those restrictions which will keep us safe. And when I say us, I mean us, our families, our places of work, the golf courses, all over. And having said that, I'd just like to wish everybody out there, particularly the golfers, to enjoy themselves out on the golf course again, and stay well and stay safe, man.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us on the show. Rashid,
you.
any closing marks from you?
No, I mean, it's great to have everyone getting to the swing of things. Obviously, I mean, I actually have a lot to ask, but I thought because it's only the first show and everyone needed to get things off their chest, and obviously the two of you had a lot to get off your chest, especially you, John, because you actually went out to the course and couldn't play, so you had itchy fingers and you was just there to report. So I can understand. I think a lot of people have the same sentiments of you guys on the show. I mean, there's quite a few questions now coming in, but I obviously will be able to answer it in the next edition of the Sweet Spot. But on a broader note, thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming in, because it's something that I think you've literally have been the voices of the silent golfers out there who have been suffering for the last 50 days. So there are a lot of questions. I know we've heard the doom and gloom. We've heard what's been happening in the present time. There is actually probably one question that will probably need to be asked, and that may take the whole show, which is the recovery process in terms of tournament golf. Because yes, we've talked about how bad and this and that and the other. Now moving forward, how is that process? How are we going to change the ruling of the game of golf through tournament golf? But we'll take that as into the next show, because I'm sure we'll ask the audience. If you do have any questions, write them down in the comments now, so they can have a week to really take it in and find out whether they can answer it for you and research it, because tournament golf, as you said, you guys, are the bread and butter of clubhouse and golf courses. Back to you, Shaun.
Okay, guys. So, like Rashid said, any questions, please leave them in the comments section. We will address them for the next panel sitting next week. Anything else? Your answers for the tournament, we will give us your details. We will get you the 2 caps once you get us the answers. Until the next time, guys, thank you to our panels today, Jonathan and Shaun, Rashid, my co-host, always being my wingman. Till the next time, guys, Gila Golfers signing off.